Hello and good evening. It is Saturday, April 9th, 2022, and it's time for our next edition of Star Trek Radio Theater here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, and on this show, our podcasters reenact Star Trek scripts with some creative voices, reinterpretations, or not, or some more faithful than others. Tonight, we're going to be reenacting the episode from Star Trek The Next Generation's fifth season, Darmok, which is from 1991 in terms of Star Trek years. It's 2368. This is our third episode for season 3 of Star Trek Radio Theater, our 48th overall. This is a great story by Philip Lazebnik and Joe Menosky, and a teleplay by Joe Menosky, and a huge credits to our script editor, Ashley Millard, along with Kevin Millard and myself for pulling the script together in terms of this new version. We got a great cast here. We'll bring out the cast and kind of do our bows at the end. We'll come off screen here, and we hope you enjoy the read. All right. In a few weeks, we'll turn this into a fully polished audio drama. But until then, let's jump in.
Captain's log, stardate 45047.2. The Enterprise is en route to the uninhabited Eladrel system. Its location is near the territory occupied by an enigmatic race known as the Children of Tama.
We focus on the observation lab. Picard is briefing Riker, Data, Troy, and Worf on the Tamarians.
Apparently the Tamarians arrived at Eladrel 4 nearly 3 weeks ago. They have been transmitting a subspace signal towards Federation space ever since.
The signal is a standard mathematical progression. It does not carry a specific message.
But they wanted us to know they were there.
Apparently so, number one. Starfleet believes that their presence is an attempt at communication. Commander!
Federation vessels have encountered Tamarian ships 7 times over the past 100 years. Each meeting went without incident. However, formal relations were not established because communication was not possible.
Why?
The Children of Tama were called incomprehensible by Captain Silvestri of the Shikumaru. Other accounts were comparable.
A cause for concern, huh? For all we know, they could be threatening our border!
Everything in the previous encounter suggests a peaceable race. We have to start from there.
Agreed. I appreciate your prudence, Mr. Wolf. But Starfleet believes that the Tamarians have extended a hand. We must do the same.
The Children of Tama? I've heard rumors about them for years.
Indeed. But are they truly incomprehensible? In my experience, communication is a matter of patience, imagination. I would like to believe these are qualities we have in sufficient measure.
We focus on space. The Enterprise arrives and meets the Tamarian vessel in orbit of Eladrel 4. We focus on the bridge. The Tamarian captain, Dathon, is speaking to them over the view screen.
Ray and Jiri at Lunga. Ray of Luani. Luani under 2 moons. Yuri of Ubaya. Ubaya of Crossroads at Lunga. Lunga, her sky gray.
The Tamarians don't understand why they aren't being understood. Dathon speaks slowly and deliberately, as if to a child.
Ray and Jiri at Lunga.
Picard leans over to Troy.
Counselor.
I'm sensing nothing but good intentions from them, Captain.
Mr. Data.
The Tamarians seem to be stating the proper names of individuals and locations.
Yes, but what does it all mean, Data?
I'm at a loss, sir.
Picard walks to the view screen to address the Tamarians.
Captain, would you be prepared to consider the creation of a mutual non-aggression pact between our two peoples? Possibly heading to a trade agreement and cultural interchange. Does this sound like a reasonable course of action to you?
The Temerian crew just stare back, blank looks on their faces. The Temerian first officer begins to laugh and then seems to mock Picard.
Contaminate Momata.
This makes Dathan angry.
The River Tamark. In winter.
The first officer looks properly chastised. Picard turns to Riker.
Impressions, number one.
It appears they're trying their best.
As are we, for what it's worth.
Shaka. When the walls fell.
Dathan turns to his first officer.
Darmok.
Darmok! Rayanyira Lunga!
Shaka. When the walls fell.
Zima and Unzo! Zima and Bakor!
Darmok at Tanagra.
Shaka! Marab! The sails unfurled!
Darmok.
Marab!
Tamark.
This stops their argument.
The River Tamark.
Dathan takes the first officer's dagger and his own out of their sheaths. He holds them out towards the view screen.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Dathan beams away, then Picard.
Block their transporter with the shields. Extend to maximum range.
Not enough time, oh gosh!
Where is he?
The Tamarians have transported Captain Picard to the planet's surface, along with their captain.
Riker to O'Brien.
It will not be possible to transport, sir. The Tamarian ship has created a particle scattering field on the planet's ionosphere.
We focus on the planet's surface. Picard beams into a meadow. It's a lovely sunny day. Birds are chirping in the distance. Picard is confused and looks around. Dathan comes out from behind a bush. He is still holding the two daggers. He raises them up as he did on his bridge. He has super weird thumbs. We focus on the bridge. As always, Riker is pacing.
Riker to Captain Picard. Captain, do you read me? Can we compensate?
No, sir. The Tamarians are projecting a particle-sustaining beam into the upper atmosphere. The result is a hyper-ionization that virtually disrupts all EM and subspace carriers.
Then they can't communicate with their man either. They won't be able to beam anyone through the field?
That is correct. However, they have left sensor frequencies clear.
Then they'll be able to tell what's going on. Analysis, Mr. Worf? What the hell is going on?
Oh my! A contest, perhaps? Between champions? A captain against theirs?
Theirs was armed.
We focus on the planet's surface. Dathan continues to repeat the same thing as he approaches Picard. His arms are wide, the daggers pointed towards the ground. He doesn't appear to be threatening.
Darmok and Jalad.
You want to fight with me, huh? Is that it? Huh? A challenge? Huh?
Darmok and Jalad.
I don't know who or what Darmok or Jalad are, but I certainly didn't come here to start a war.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Dathan throws a dagger towards Picard's feet. He seems pleased when Picard picks it up. Picard picks it up and throws it back. This disappoints the Temerian captain.
Sorry, Captain.
Shaka. When the walls fell.
He picks up the dagger and backs away. We focus on the bridge.
Sensors show Captain Picard and the Tamarian in apparent good health, approximately 20 meters from each other.
Hail the Tamarian ship.
On screen!
You are holding our captain. I want him released.
Darmok at Tanagra.
Your action could be interpreted as an act of war.
Gitail. His eyes closed. Shenza at court. The court of silence. Shenza!
Is there any way to get through to them?
Not without further study.
Close the channel, Mr. Worf.
Gladly, sir.
Worf, I want you to assemble a security team, take the shuttle down to the planet, bring back the captain.
Aye, Commander.
Sir, the Tamarians are fully capable of stopping a shuttle.
I'm aware of that, but disrupting our transporter beam and firing on a shuttle are two entirely different things. I'm betting they're not going to push it that far.
We focus on the planet's surface. The sun has set and it is now night. Picard and Dathon are still keeping their distance. Dathon is relaxing by a fire while Picard is still struggling to get one lit. He manages to get some kindling ablaze, but it goes out before he has a chance to really get it going. Dathon finds this amusing.
Shaka when the walls fell.
Shaka indeed. What now, Captain? Will you attack me in my sleep? If I don't freeze to death first.
Dathon gets up and approaches Picard. He tries, again, to communicate with him.
Darmok of Kanza. Jalad at the Kiteo.
Picard of the Federation. Of the Starship Enterprise. Of the planet Earth.
Dathon throws his hands up in exasperation and shakes his head.
Kedar. Beneath Mo Mate.
Dathon sits back down at his fire. He picks up and drops some small shiny objects, obviously taking some meaning from the way they fall. He makes up his mind about something, lays the objects on rocks around his campsite, and then lays down for the night. Picard gets up, clearly cold. He tries to pull his stupid velour and leather jacket tighter around him, but it is obviously as warm as it is fashionable. Not in the slightest.
I think it's pretty good.
He paces around a bit. Dathon gets up, picks up a flaming branch, and throws it towards Picard.
Temba.
Temba? What does that mean? Fire? Does Temba mean fire? Torpedoes? Oh, sorry.
Temba, his arms wide.
Temba is a person? His arms wide. Because he's holding them apart in generosity. In giving. In taking.
Temba, his arms wide.
Picard accepts the gift of fire, and Dathon smiles.
Thank you. Thank you.
We focus on the Enterprise in space.
First Officer's Log, supplemental. I'm sending a shuttlecraft to find Captain Picard, gambling that the Tamarians will sit tight rather than risk an exchange of phaser fire.
We focus on the shuttlecraft cockpit. Worf is at the helm, joined by Ensign Kellogg.
Good golly, the positron density is .013.
We focus on the bridge. Riker is pacing, listening to Worf's update.
Electron concentration 7.95. Particle gradient 4/7. We are 250 kilometers from the planet's surface. Oh my!
Commander, the shuttle has reached the E region of the planet's ionosphere.
How long can we maintain communication?
The scattering layer induced by the Tamarians is concentrated in the upper D region. The shuttle will reach that area in approximately 2 minutes.
The Tamarian ship?
Unchanged, sir. They appear to be making no attempt to stop us.
Maybe we called their bluff. Status, Mr. Worf?
Gosh! Navigational life support propulsion normal. Onboard systems do not appear to be disrupted, but it feels that I can barely reach you, Commander.
Acknowledged. Maintain communications as long as conditions permit.
Commander, I am reading a power surge in the Tamarian plasma reactor.
Lieutenant Worf, evasive maneuver sequence Delta.
The Tamarian vessel fires on the shuttle.
Commander, the shuttle has been hit.
Damage?
The starboard nacelle has been rendered inoperable.
That's all? Riker to Worf.
We focus on the shuttlecraft.
Report.
Oh no! Starboard thrusters destroyed! I may be able to land, but I will not be able to take off!
Understood. Return to the Enterprise, Mr. Worf.
Worf hesitates, but obeys.
Aye, sir!
We focus on the bridge.
Enough to turn them back, but not enough to hurt them.
Yes, sir. The phaser pulse appears to have been carefully attenuated for just that effect.
Nice shooting.
We focus on the observation lounge. Atmospheric ionization scan 927 is on the wall monitor. Geordi is briefing Riker, Troy, Worf, and Data on the Tamarian scattering field. I'm pretty sure I can punch up the annular confinement beam enough to transport the captain through the field, but it's going to take me at least a full day to do it.
Captain Picard could be dead by then.
Oh my! I do not believe so! I have confidence in his ability as a warrior! He will be victorious!
You're still assuming this is some sort of challenge ritual. We can't be certain of that.
Agreed. We're only making educated guesses about their motivations, no more than that.
Then why do we wait? If we attack the ship now, they will not be able to maintain their scattering field!
Which might start a shooting match, and for all we know, a war. And we still might not be able to save the captain.
It would end the stalemate!
Too much of a risk. I'll take that course when it's the only one left. Who the hell are these people? There's got to be some way to get through to them.
As I have said, with further study, it may be possible.
Then do it. Deanna, help him. I want something by 0900 hours.
We focus on the planet's surface. It's daytime and the birds are singing again. Picard wakes up alone.
I've woken up alone. Now where have you gone to, my friend?
Picard strolls over to Dathon's campsite.
Forgive the intrusion, Captain, but I need some answers.
He examines the small objects Dathon placed around the site. He sees what looks like a journal and sits down to read it. We focus on Data's quarters. Data and Troy are reviewing the communications log recorded from earlier.
Darmok at Tanagra.
Shaka! Marab! The sails unfurled!
Darmok!
Freeze. Darmok.
Darmok? Well, it seems to be a point of contention between them. Perhaps something the Temerian captain proposed that the first officer didn't like.
The apparent emotional dynamic does seem to support that assumption. As with the other terms used by the Temerian, this appears to be a proper noun. The name clearly carries a meaning for them.
Computer, search for the term Darmok in all linguistic databases for this sector.
Searching. Darmok is the name of a 7th Dynasty Emperor on Kanda 4, a mythical historical hunter on Shantil 3, a colony on Malindi 7, a frozen desert on Tanza 5,
Stop search! Computer, how many entries are there for Darmok?
47. Oh.
Data gives a look of exasperation, much like Dave does when the number 47 is mentioned.
Oh, all our technology and experience, our universal translators, our years in space, contacts with more alien cultures than I can even remember.
I have encountered 1,754 non-human races during my tenure in Starfleet.
And we still can't even say hello to these people.
Correct.
A single word can lead to tragedy. One word misspoken or misunderstood. And that could happen here, Data, if we fail.
Replay at time index 144.
Darmok at Tanagra.
Freeze. Computer. Search for the term Tanagra. All databases.
Searching. Tanagra, the ruling family on Galos 2, a ceremonial drink on Larishi 4, an island continent on Shantil 3.
Stop! Shantil 3. Computer, cross-reference the last entry with the previous search index.
Darmok is the name of a mystical historical hunter on Shantil 3.
I think we've got something.
We focus on the planet's surface. Picard continues to examine Dathon's journal.
Captain's log.
Darmok!
Dathon comes running back.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
I was curious. I meant no harm.
Dathon pushes the journal out of Picard's hand.
Shaka! Temba! His eyes wide. Temba!
Dathon tries to give Picard the dagger.
Enough! I'm not going to fight you! You'll just have to...
Something big roars nearby.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Dathon offers the dagger again.
Temba! His arms wide.
They look around, and rocks tumble down a hillside. Picard takes the dagger.
I'll go along with that.
We focus on the bridge.
Gosh, Commander! Sensors are picking up an electromagnetic disturbance approaching the Captain's position.
Analysis?
A variable induction field. Possibly a life form.
How close is it to the Captain?
The field is erratic, appearing and disappearing, but appears to be moving toward him. Oh my!
Attacking?
Worf sort of nods. We focus on engineering. LaForge and Ensign Leffler are working away.
Riker to LaForge.
LaForge here.
How close are we on that transporter?
2 hours, maybe 3.
I want the captain out of there now.
That's not very likely, sir.
I don't want to hear that, Commander.
Leffler, what's the resonance frequency?
0.34 over standard.
I want a revolution of 5-3 at the very least. Commander, I'll need about 2 more minutes. We focus on the bridge. But there's a good chance this isn't gonna work.
If it fails!
I know. We will have tipped our hand to the Tamarians. But it's a chance we have to take.
Agreed,
LaForge, proceed.
We're on it. LaForge, out.
Riker to Transporter Room 1.
We focus on Transporter Room 1.
O'Brien here, Commander.
Stand by, Mr. O'Brien.
We focus on the planet's surface. A big something appears and disappears near them.
Mirab, his sails unfurled.
That certainly is a big something. Come.
Shaka, when the wells fell.
Then the creature is behind them and vanishes again.
Shaka, when the walls fell.
Shaka. You said that before, when I was trying to build a fire. Is that a failure? An inability to do something?
Darmok and Jalad.
At Tanagra.
Dathan is pleased.
I remember the words, but I don't understand.
We focus on engineering. Matrix levels?
Annular convergence 439.205. Confinement resolution 0.527.
This isn't gonna do it. Increase thermal input coefficient to 150%.
Increase it now.
Status, LaForge.
We're almost there, Commander! Leffler, shut the overload to the phase transition sequencers in Transporter 1.
Yes, sir.
LaForge to O'Brien. We focus on the transporter room.
Go ahead, Commander.
Confirm phase sequencer linkage.
Link confirmed. Ready whenever you are, sir.
We focus on the planet's surface. The beast appears and disappears again. Dathan is pushing Picard back.
Uzani, his army at Lashmir.
At Lashmir? Was it like this at Lashmir? A similar situation to the one we are facing now.
The beast continues to get closer.
Uzani, his army with fist open.
A strategy. With fist open. With fist open.
His army with fist closed.
With fist closed. An army with fist open to lure the enemy. With fist closed to attack. That's how you communicate, isn't it? By citing example. By metaphor. Uzani's army.
And Picard opens the distance between them.
With fist open.
Dathan is delighted.
Sokath, his eyes uncovered.
Picard is smiling and then gets attacked. Picard takes a stab at the creature. But he gets a jolt through the dagger and drops it. Dathon attacks. Picard rejoins and is thrown down again. Dathon takes the full brunt of the creature's fury. And Picard gets beamed away. Picard is horrified at the timing of this as Dathon continues to get ravaged.
No! God! No! No!
We focus on the transporter room.
We got a piece of them, Commander, but that's all.
We focus on engineering.
Boost the confinement beam.
157 over standard.
It's as slow as it'll go, Commander! We focus on the planet's surface. Dathon is being thrown around and battered to a pulp while Picard flickers. We focus on the bridge.
Gosh, the Temerian and his entity are in close proximity. The Temerian's life signs are fluctuating.
The scattering field is still in full force. What the hell is wrong with them? Their sensors can read what's going on as well as ours can. Riker to O'Brien, report.
We focus on the transporter room.
The field's still deflecting the signal. There's just not enough of them, sir.
We focus on the bridge.
Open a channel to the Temerian ship.
Aye, sir.
Your captain is under attack. Drop your particle field.
Glass when it arises.
They've closed the channel. Oh my!
O'Brien, the bridge. I can't hold them, Commander.
Focus on the planet's surface. The creature leaves and Picard runs over to Dathon. He has been beaten severely and is gasping for air.
Shaka.
When the walls fell.
The Temerian passes out. We focus on the Enterprise in space.
First Officer's Log, Stardate 45048.8. Our attempt to transport Captain Picard back to the ship has failed. My options are narrowing, and my patience is all but gone.
We focus on the observation lounge. Riker is discussing the situation with Geordi, Troy, Data, Worf, and now Dr. Crusher as well.
Here's the situation on Eladrel. The entity has moved off several hundred meters.
Captain Picard's bioscan readings are stable! The Temerians are not!
You may be injured.
If the entity decides to attack again, the captain may be facing it alone.
The transporter's out of the question. The Temerian ship has deepened the scattering field to the D region of the ionosphere. There's just no getting through.
Unless we attack the ship itself.
Are you able to pinpoint the source of their particle beam?
They're using a polarity coil generator located aft of their warp drive. It's pretty heavily shielded.
Could we get through with our phasers?
Not with the force spread. It'll take a couple of hits.
That's not good enough. We need to knock out the scattering field in one shot, and have the captain back on the Enterprise before they know what happened.
If we selectively target the amplification pathways around the generator, it should be just as effective. And we can do it with just one burst.
How long will it take to set up?
Worf and I would have to adjust the pre-fire chamber. That'll give us the focus we need. A few hours?
Make it so.
Geordi and Worf leave.
I would prefer to find a peaceful solution if we can talk our way out of this one. That's much better.
Unfortunately, it may not be that simple.
What did you find out?
The Tamarian ego structure does not seem to allow what we normally think of as self-identity. Their ability to abstract is highly unusual. They seem to communicate through narrative imagery by reference to the individuals and places which appear in their mytho-historical accounts.
It's as if I were to say to you, Juliet on her balcony.
Ooh, an image of romance!
Exactly! Imagery is everything to the Tamarians. It embodies their emotional states, their very thought processes. It's how they communicate, and it's how they think.
If we know how they think, shouldn't we be able to get something across to them?
No, sir. The situation is analogous to understanding the grammar of a language, but none of the vocabulary.
If I didn't know who Juliet was, or what she was doing on that balcony, the image alone wouldn't have any meaning!
That's correct. For instance, we know that Darmok was a great hero, a hunter, and that Tanagra was an island, but that's it. Without the details, there's no understanding.
It is necessary for us to learn the narrative from which the Tamarians draw their imagery. Given our current relations, that does not appear likely.
We focus on the planet's surface. Night has fallen. A fire is lit, and Dathan is laying down, badly injured. Picard is keeping watch, both daggers in his hands.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Our situation is similar to theirs. I understand that. But I need to know more. You must tell me more about Darmok and Jalad. Tell me. You used the words Temba, his arms wide, when you gave me the knife and the fire. Could that mean give? Temba, his arms wide. Darmok. Give me more about Darmok.
Darmok on the ocean.
Darmok.
Picard picks up a stone to indicate Darmok. He places it on the ground and then uses a stick to draw a circle around it.
The ocean. Darmok, on the ocean, a metaphor for being alone, isolated. Darmok on the ocean.
Dathan writhes in pain.
Are you all right?
Kiazi's children, their faces wet.
Temba, his arms open. Give me more about Darmok on the ocean.
Tanagra on the ocean. Darmok at Tanagra.
At Tanagra, a country. Tanagra on the ocean, an island. Temba, his arms wide.
Jalad on the ocean. Jalad at Tanagra.
Jalad at Tanagra. He went to the same island as Darmok. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
The beast at Tanagra!
The beast! There was a creature at Tanagra. Darmok and Jalad. The beast at Tanagra. They arrived separately. They struggled together against a common foe. The beast at Tanagra. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Darmok and Jalad on the ocean.
They left together. Darmok and Jalad on the ocean.
The ocean. Zinda, his face black, his eyes red. Kalimas at Bahar.
You hoped this would happen, didn't you? You knew there was a dangerous creature on this planet, and you knew from the tale of Darmok that a danger shared might sometimes bring two people together. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. You and me, here, at Eladrel.
Kira at Bashi. Temba, his arms wide.
My turn. No, I'm not much of a storyteller. Besides, you wouldn't understand. Shaka, when the walls fell. perhaps that doesn't matter. You want to hear it anyway. There's a story, a very ancient one, from Earth. I'll try and remember it. Gilgamesh, a king. Gilgamesh, a king at Uruk. He tormented his subjects. He made them angry. They cried out aloud, "Send us a companion for our king. Spare us from his madness." Enkidu, a wild man from the forest, entered the city. They fought in the temple. They fought in the street. Gilgamesh defeated Enkidu. They became great friends, Gilgamesh and Enkidu, at Uruk.
At Uruk.
The new friends went out into the desert together, where the great bull of heaven was killing men by the hundreds. Enkidu caught the bull by the tail. Gilgamesh struck it with his sword.
Gilgamesh.
Ah, if only you and I could fight the bull, Captain. They were victorious. But Enkidu fell to the ground, struck down by the gods. And Gilgamesh wept bitter tears, saying, "He who was my companion through adventure and hardship is gone forever."
And with that, Dathan dies. We focus on the Enterprise in space. They are still at a standoff with the Temerian ship.
First Officer's Log, supplemental. Despite the risk of war, I have no choice but to break the stalemate.
We focus on the bridge.
Phaser's nearly ready, sir.
Stand by to fire, Mr. Worf.
Commander, the Tamarian's bioscan is becoming unreadable. He may be dead, sir.
If we know that, so do the Tamarians. Riker to LaForge.
LaForge here?
I need those phasers.
Sir, sensors are tracking the entity. It is approaching Captain Picard's position.
We focus on the planet's surface. Picard has laid out Dathan with his dagger when he hears the beast roar.
I understand your sacrifice, Captain. Unfortunately, if our friend out there has its way, no one will ever know what you tried to do.
The beast is getting closer to Picard. We focus on the bridge.
9 meters in closing. The energy output of the entity has doubled, Commander. 6 meters.
LaForge to bridge! You have phasers!
Fire!
Gosh, their particle beam emitters are inoperative, sir.
Scattering field is down, sir.
O'Brien, engage or energize. Do something.
Picard is beamed away just as the beast attacks. We focus on the transporter room.
We got him, Commander!
Picard runs out of the transporter room. Doesn't even stop to say hi to O'Brien. We focus on the bridge.
Maximum shields.
Aye, sir!
The Temerians return fire.
Red alert!
Our shields are gone, oh my!
Let's get out of here.
That may not be possible, sir. The starboard nacelles sustained a direct hit. Warp engines are offline.
Go to impulse. Back us off.
They're matching our maneuvers, sir! They're firing!
Return fire, Mr. Worf. Full phasers.
Firing, sir! Gosh, the shields are holding! They're firing again! Oh no! Our shields have failed!
Commander, we cannot survive another hit.
Picard enters.
Hail the Tamarian vessel!
Aye, Captain!
Zinda! His face black, his eyes red.
Tamark!
The Tamarians pause at this and quickly calm down.
The river Tamark. In winter.
Darmok!
And Jalad. At Tanagra. Darmok and Jalad on the ocean.
Zokat! His eyes are open!
The beast of Tanagra. Uzani, his army. Shaka, when the walls fell.
The Tamarians understand and bow their heads and perform a ritual. Picard holds up Dathon's journal, and the Tamarians beam it away.
Picard and Dathon at El Idril. Marab, with sails unfurled.
Picard holds out the dagger.
Temba, his arms open.
Temba, at rest.
Picard understands that they are gifting him the dagger.
Thank you.
The transmission ends.
Power has been restored, sir.
New friends, Captain?
I can't say, number one, but at least they're not new enemies.
We focus on the ready room. Picard is sitting on his couch, reading. The Tamarian dagger is on his desk. Riker enters without even knocking.
I hope I'm not intruding, Captain.
No, of course not, number one. Please.
Damage reports ready for your review.
Thank you.
Greek, sir?
Oh, the Homeric hymns, one of the root metaphors of our own culture.
For the next time we encounter the Tamarians?
More familiarity with our own mythology might help us to relate to theirs. The Tamarian was willing to risk all of us, just for the hope of communication, connection. Now the door is open between our peoples. That commitment meant more to him than his own life. Thank you, number one.
Riker leaves. Picard picks up the dagger and walks over to the window. He repeats the gestures he saw the Tamarians use when they learned of their captain's death, paying his own silent tribute to his fallen comrade.
And yes, that concludes our reading of Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. I'm Dave Mater, as mentioned previously. This is Jane Mater. She was Lieutenant Commander Data tonight. Great job, Jane. And then we have Davin Skelhorn playing the part of Captain Picard. Great job to you,
Very
Davin.
nice.
Coming to us live from Nova Scotia, where it's an hour later. Of course, we had Adam Woodward in the role of Captain Dathon. Great job to Adam and to your Temerian first officer, Mott. You guys had to argue in all like this crazy language. Well,
His arms open. His arms
uh,
open.
Yeah, great job to both of you. Both are Temerians here tonight. Definitely a heavier lift. We had Mickey Mouse in the role. No, yeah, it was Mickey Mouse in the role of Worf, plus Jessica Chan in the role of Deanna Troy with Gus as well. And,
He tried his hand.
Yes, yeah, he was pretty good for it. Yeah, and then of course we had Kevin Millard in the role of Commander Riker and Ashley Millard in the role of Commander LaForge. Commanders. As well as actually serving as our narrator. I was playing a couple of roles, including the computer and
Leffler LaForge.
Well, I was going for. I'm a Southern Belle. I'm Ashley Judd, and I'm in Double Jeopardy. That was kind of my motivation there. And then, my Dr. Crusher. Dr. Crusher has nothing to do with this episode. She's like, Picard looks good. The Dathon, not so good. That's my medical opinion.
But the line you got with your voice was so perfect.
Which one was that?
The romance line.
Oh, it was like, ooh, an image of romance. Yeah.
The line of the whole show was Kevin's what?
What? Like Riker is at his most grumpy in this episode for sure. He even says as much in his logs. He's like, I have no patience. And even like where he's like Data and Troy's like, maybe if we do further studies, like, do it. Deanna, help him. Like, get my site. Figure this out. Sucks. Right. Everyone, I had a lot of fun with that. Mott, what did you think of this?
Oh, I liked it a lot. There was their scene, where they had to, finally come together, before his death, and they figured it out, and they were telling stories, very touching. Picard, of course, he knew his patience would come through and shine, in figuring out this whole language thing.
It's all about imagination.
You knew from the beginning he was going to nail it.
He's like, I know how to do this, even though he's like, I'm not going to fight you. And then we had a kitty cat there with Davin. Which one's that?
He's a good one.
Arcade Fire. Jody Simpson saying here, good job,
not
everyone.
named after Arcade Fire.
Oh,
okay.
I really enjoyed everybody doing the commander in the different voices.
You had an opportunity there.
I had an opportunity, but Data can't do that.
Data wouldn't throw sass.
No,
he wouldn't do that. Quiet on the set, Sam says. Yes, that's right. And he's calling for Gilligan's Island Radio Theater.
Oh my God! Always with Gilligan's Island. Eventually it's going to happen.
Gus seems to like the idea.
Couldn't we make it that they're on a starship, but it's the same Gilligan's Island, miscommunication and
Sure, there could be they've done Doctor Who, Star Trek crossovers in comic books. It's I guess. Yeah. So you want the Gilligan's Island
in space?
In space.
Same story, same character.
Isn't that Lost in Space?
Isn't that Lost in Space?
Oh.
Or is that's more like Swiss Family Robinson, which is kind of like Gilligan's Island. It's on an island. Maybe.
As everyone do their best Star Trek impression, and we'll do it as Gilligan's Island characters. There you go.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's been so long since I've even watched an episode of Gilligan's Island. It's got to be since I was a kid. I remember because it was always in reruns when I would visit Nova Scotia, but it was never really on in Quebec or Ontario that I can remember.
We were just getting it. In Nova
Scotia. It was first run in Nova Scotia when I was there.
When you think about it, Gilligan's Island would be a great a message for this episode. Gilligan and the captain
on the island,
on the SS Minnow.
Gilligan and the skipper on the Minnow, a 3-hour tour.
Marianne with her coconut phone.
Yes,
that's true. The opening is basically
Yeah, we did this episode in honor of First Contact Day, which was actually a couple of days ago. It was April 5th, as featured in the movie Star Trek First Contact. As this being like, well, it's kind of not technically a first contact because they had said they had met like 6 times, but never really got off the ground really. So this was, but it was kind of about bridging the gap, finding communication, common ground, and everything else. And a really touching story, one of my favorites of all time. And I'm glad we got a chance to do it. It's been long overdue, I think, and I'm glad to have this cast come together for this here on this Saturday night. I know we're all busy, and getting together is a little harder than it was during the pandemic. So I really appreciate everyone. Also, big thanks to Ashley and Kevin for helping me pull the script together. It's been a great day. My brother is Rich. They're going to have a baby. I just want to call that. More babies coming. We got babies all around. Yeah, it's gonna be a different Christmas this year. 2 babies will be a Christmas this year in the Mater clan, right?
Cove.
And
Cove.
Mater's Cove. Yes, Gene, we got to go to Mater's Cove. Maybe they used to have the Tingleberry Tea House.
The Jingleberry tea?
Tingleberry.
Tingleberry.
I don't know.
What's made in Maters?
I'll tingle the berries.
Is that where all the babies come from?
That's where all the
berries
come from, the Tingleberries.
It's what we call blueberries in Nova Scotia.
Made in Maters Cove. Berries are blue. Okay. Oh
That's
man.
how you don't get these.
Yeah, exactly.
Davin, is that why it's called a blueberry grunt?
Yes. Of course, here we call it a tingleberry grunt.
2 or something.
I'm still waiting to get paid by the Star Trek Radio Theater Union.
Star Trek Radio Theater. Well, there's a petition. It keeps getting pushed to the bottom of the pile.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what to say.
CBS paid me
it's just a small crowd.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you didn't know already. We do all kinds of great podcasts here on Live Long and Podcast, including on Monday nights, talking with Jody Simpson, Adam Woodward, and Kevin Millard about Star Trek Enterprise. And sometimes Davin's with us as well. Check that out every Monday night. Coming up, and then Tuesday nights, Star Trek Deep Space Nine at 9ish, at least for a few more weeks until ball hockey starts up, and then we're gonna find a new night where we go through all the episodes.
You betrayed your uniform!
And then on Thursdays, we're talking about Star Trek right now, Star Trek Picard season 2, and we talked about Star Trek Discovery, which featured Michael Chan, of course, especially in the finale, big prominence in the finale. You should check out the interview over on Locutors of Trek that Davin and Dave did with Michael. I listened to the whole thing, left a whole bunch of comments. Check out Davin's podcast, Locutors of Trek, that he does with Dave. What do you got coming up on Locutors of Trek?
Oh, like the space episode we recorded 2 weeks ago, and I'm still trying to edit. It's been a busy, hectic few weeks here at.
You've been ill, so it's
exactly.
It's
but it's coming.
Right.
Go back and listen to Locutors of Chan.
Locutors of Chan, of course, and then X-Men the Animated Series podcast, Davin.
That's weekly. I don't have to edit that one because it's live, so it gets thrown up there right away. Yeah, check it out. And the Alpha Flight episode's next. Yay.
Alpha Flight, the Canadian X-Men.
Exactly.
Woo! You should also check out the Hellbound podcast with Michael Chan and Jessica Chan and Alex Blackburn. I know you guys were just talking about the most scariest episodes of Star Trek in your last episode.
Yes, we did.
If you like horror, you like scary, check out the Hellbound podcast with the crew over there, as well as Let's Talk About Fighting Games with Eamon Mater under his alias Sam Jerka. They talk about Mega Man. They talk about Baiku. They talk about Dragon Ball. All kinds of things. Fighting games. Let's Talk About Fighting Games on Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcasts, as well as our 2 other channels. We have Super Mater Brothers Podcasting that I do with primarily with my brother Jeff, as well as Jameel Robinson. Right now, we're in the thick of Big Brother Canada season 10, covering those episodes. We've done 6 weeks of that coverage so far, as well as Survivor season 42. We also like to talk about Marvel over on that channel, MCU stuff. We've been covering every MCU installment, Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is, since WandaVision came out in 2021. And then Trivial Debates is our monthly show. We argue about movies, TV, sports, and more in a game show format. There's a host. There's 3 contestants. and they try to argue about different rounds and different things. Eamon Mater going to be hosting the next one coming up on May 1st with Chris Seymour competing, as well as Matt George and maybe Davin. I don't know. It's not confirmed yet. All right. Well, I think we'll go on out here and come off the air. Thank you for listening to us tonight and being part of this all. And we'll end with a very touching music. I really love the music in this episode, Darmok, and I'm glad that we got a chance to get a little bit of that here in the live record tonight. Okay, live long and podcast, everyone. Comes. Thanks. Oh, you gotta touch the knife?